Good day to you. I'm Charles Roller, a clinical pastoral education student, a chaplain intern under the instruction of Chaplain Bruce Stewart and chaplain educator Liz Pomerlow. I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes about a subject that's more and more important to me, and I entitle that Staying in the Race. Now you may ask, race? What are you talking about? No one told me about a race. If there is one, you should have done a better job at getting out the email or the message or the phone calls, because I'm not set for a race. Well, actually you are, and you're succeeding at it. You're involved in the race of life and living life well and staying engaged. Now, the reason I'm so interested in this is because I am reaching one of the numbers of a long life. In Psalm 90, the scripture mentions 70 to 80 years is a very long life, a good one. Some people live much longer than that, but that's a good lifespan. So as I'm in that age group, or soon will be, whether I have few or many years left, I want to stay engaged, to stay active until I reach my finish line. Now, providing examples of some that have stayed their course, that have been very active in their races, are two people that you haven't met, my mother and my uncle in particular. My mother was born in Southeast Texas to a family of 6. There were 4 children, of which she was the youngest. Her father was a merchant seaman. Her mother worked in the town laundry. She was the normal young person. Not that many people had college degrees or postgraduate degrees, and she met the norm by successfully completing high school. After that, she worked in a ship factory, helping to deliver landing craft for the Navy. And you've seen these in movies about D-Day. These are the craft that carried soldiers from the ships to the shore. They were very important in helping us win D-Day. After the war, she met my father, married, and had me. Life was good in those days. She was a homemaker. My father was a supervisor in a petrochemical plant back home, and life was well. It was active. They were involved in school functions, community functions. They were definitely in the race. However, in her 40s, life took a more somber and troubling turn. She lost her husband, my father, in her late 40s to a heart attack. Now that required her to get trained as a nurse to support herself. She loved nursing. She helped many people recover their health and made so many friends during those days. She was very, very active. But as life continued on, she grew older. She realized nursing is a very hard job. Those of you that work in hospitals know that. It is an energy-depriving, exhausting line of work. So as she aged, she noticed that her energy levels were waning. She lost her vision to macular degeneration. And in spite of those things, she continued interacting with friends, being taken to lunch, listening to the news, even though she couldn't see it, until she died peacefully in her sleep at age 82. She stayed in the race to the finish line. A second example was her brother, my uncle, a mischievous lad. He learned to fly single-engine aircraft when he was barely a teen. Perhaps that's why during World War II he was an aviator, which gave him several adventures, some of which are troubling, as they were all unauthorized, it seems. He would regale adults and young people with stories of flying military aircraft under bridges, of course unauthorized. And after the war, he got his college degree and began working for the Internal Revenue Service. As busy as that job was, he also participated in both road racing around tracks, auto racing, and aerobatic competitions, both of which he was good at, both of which were dangerous and required skill. One day in his trophy room, I asked what this 3-foot-high glass trophy was. And he said, oh, that was from a road race in my Triumph. And I said, you won a race in that little underpowered Triumph Spitfire convertible? And he said, well, yes, I did. And I said, well, how did you do that? That's not particularly a speedster. And he said, well, the truth is, once I hit 90 miles per hour and I was in the front of the pack, I was afraid to look in my rearview mirror or to lift my foot off the accelerator. And I won the race, and there's the trophy. This man was actively involved in life every day that he enjoyed it. Following his retirement from the IRS, he joined local government and civic organizations in his hometown. He did things like, as he, even into his 60s and 70s, accompanying police officers in their squad cars as they made their rounds around the city so he could get to better know what their lives were like. In his 80s and even into his 90s, he went on annual cruises to other countries with my aunt so he could learn more about their lives. And did that until his late 90s when his energy, like my mother's, waned. Running as fast as he could, always actively engaged in life with the community and with his family. He also died peacefully in his sleep at age 101. Now, you didn't get to know my mother and uncle, but you can think of two other very famous figures that are doing the same thing, staying in the race. Dr. Anthony Fauci, 80 years old. How can I say this? He does his best and is integral in infectious disease research. And it's been important in the current vaccine development that helps us, that you and me are taking to avoid COVID-19. This man, despite continual discouragement from the leader in the White House and threats to fire him, kept continuing, doing the best he could, contributing to research, and today he's more widely appreciated. Life is good, but he continues to run his race every day. Besides him, we all think of 78-year-old President Joe Biden, who endured the very contentious 2020 presidential race, keeping his spirits high, keeping his efforts intense, and today he leads our country with wisdom and doing what is right. Those two men that we all see on television, read about in the paper, are running their race actively. As an example of the race, I'd like to read a poem. Now, it is a long one, but this is written by Dr. D.H. Groberg, and it's included in several magazines. And you may have heard this before, but allow me to read this to you and think about the principle here, the one of never giving up, of staying involved in the race. Quit. Give up. They shout and plead, you're beaten. And there's just too much against you now. This time you can't succeed. And as I start to hang my head in front of failure's face, my downward fall is broken by a memory of a race. And hope refills my weakened will as I recall that scene, for just the thought of that short race rejuvenates my being. A children's race, young boys, young men, how I remember well. Excitement sure, but also fear. It wasn't hard to tell. They all lined up, so full of hope, each thought to win that race, or tie for first, or if not that, at least take second place. Their fathers watched from off the side, each cheering for his son, and each boy hoped to show his dad that he would be the one. The whistle blew, and off they went, young hearts and hopes on fire. To win, to be the hero there, was each young boy's desire. One boy in particular, his dad was in the crowd, was running near the lead and thought, my dad will be so proud. But as he speeded down the field across a shallow dip, the little boy who thought to win lost his step and slipped. Trying hard to catch himself, his hands flew out to brace, and mid the laughter of the crowd, he fell flat on his face. So down he fell, and with him hope. He couldn't win it now. Embarrassed, sad, he only wanted to disappear somehow. But as he fell, his dad stood up and showed his anxious face, which to the boy so clearly said, get up and win that race. He quickly rose, no damage done, behind a bit, that's all, and ran with all his mind and might to make up for his fall. So anxious to restore himself, to catch up and to win, his mind went faster than his legs. He slipped and fell again. He wished that he had quit before, with just one disgrace. I am hopeless as a runner now. I shouldn't try to race. But in the laughing crowd he searched and found his father's face. That steady look that said again, get up and win that race. So he jumped up to try again, 10 yards behind the last. If I'm going to gain those yards, he thought, I've got to run real fast. Exceeding everything he had, he regained 8 or 10. But trying so hard to catch the lead, he slipped and fell again. Defeat. He lay there silently. A tear dropped from his eye. There's no sense running any more. 3 strikes, I'm out. Why try? The will to rise had disappeared. All hope had fled away. So far behind, so error-prone, closer all the way. I've lost, so what's the use, he thought. I'll live with my disgrace. But then he thought about his dad, whom he'd have to face. Get up, an echo sounded low. Get up and take your place. You were not meant for failure here. Get up and win that race. With borrowed will, get up, it said. You haven't lost it all. For winning is not more than this, to rise each time you fall. So up he rose to run once more. and with a new commit, he resolved that win or lose, at least he would not quit. So far behind the others now, the most he had ever been, still he gave it all he had and ran as though to win. 3 times he had fallen stumbling, 3 times he rose again. Too far behind to hope to win, he still ran to the end. They cheered the winning runner as he crossed first place, head high and proud and happy, no falling, no disgrace. But when the fallen youngster crossed the line last place, the crowd gave him the greater cheer for finishing the race. And even though he came in last, with head bowed low, unproud, you would have thought he had won that race to listen to the crowd. And to his dad he sadly said, "I didn't do so well." "To me you won," his father said. "You rose each time you fell." And now when things seem dark and hard and difficult to face, the memory of that little boy helps me in my own race. For all of life is like that race with ups and downs and all you have to do to win is rise each time you fall. Quit, give up, you're beaten, they still shout to my face. But another voice within me says, get up and win that race. So, the theme of today's short video is stay active, run the course, don't give up, run the race till the finish line. Thank you so much for listening. I wish you peace and success as you continue running your races this day, this month, and this year. Goodbye for now.